Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's edition of the Our America channel. My name is Thornton Prayer. I'm a citizen, a patriot, and I care very deeply about the United States of America and the direction that we're headed in. Today, I'd like to talk about big government. A lot of people, rightfully so, are afraid of big government. If you go back to the founders of the country, of the United States, they talk about the Leviathan. They talk about tyranny. The Constitution was of 1789 was set up to try to fight against tyranny, and that's why we have the three presumably co-equal branches of government on a federal level. So I think it's right on the mark for many of us to worry about big government having too much control over people's lives. But when I hear people, especially certain ideologues on the right and certainly libertarians, complain about big government, there's a part of me that kind of scratches my head, and that is that we talk about big government a lot, but there's other big entities as well that I think we don't pay attention to, and that in particular is big business. And when I say big business, I'm talking about large, major corporations. You see, I think a lot of us don't understand that major corporations are also having a huge impact as far as controlling our lives, what we watch on television or what we see on social media and things of that nature, and also in terms of what we buy, the pharmaceuticals that we may take in order to deal with any sort of illness, the foods we eat. And I think a lot of people don't understand how big business has intertwined itself with big government. And so you really have what I think is a twin situation of the Leviathan, twin forms of control of your lives. And when I hear people talk about big government and complain about that, which I think is a legitimate thing to do, but not talk about big business, when by failing to recognize that these two things are working together. One of the things I think is causing the huge amounts of inequality in the United States today and the political and social consequences of that is that it's the combination of big business and big government that is draining us, that's draining the middle class, that's draining the working poor, that I think will cause huge problems if we don't rebalance things in the foreseeable future. You see, with big anything, in my opinion, is about power. And as the old saying goes, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We legitimately, as citizens, should be afraid and worried about big government having too much power because it can, in the worst sense of the word, become absolutely corrupted and then have too much control of our lives. But I'm going to suggest to you the same thing can happen, and for that matter is happening with major corporations. They're doing the same thing, and in fact, they're working hand in glove, let's say, with the government to get control over our lives. If you don't believe me, why do you think they spend so much money on lobbying? I learned a long time ago from various people that the way business influences government is that lobbyists and corporations write the laws that control our lives. And they're not doing it because they're good-natured or good-hearted or want to do things on our behalf. Yeah, I know the commercials are all great about how they care about their customers and the environment and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, major for-profit corporations are about making money for themselves, their senior executives and their shareholders. Now, I'm not saying that's bad in and of itself, but when we think about it from a power perspective, they want to have power, they want to have absolute power, and that power can be corrupted. And I'm suggesting that that's what's going on. Big business can be a threat. Big government can be a threat. Big business and big government working together, that can be the biggest threat of all. Now, I know some of you may disagree with me about that. The one thing I would challenge some of you might be is to point at one thing and say it's only big business or it's only big government. And I'm saying it's both working together. That's, I think, going to end up undermining this country in a very, very severe way. I'm open to any thoughts, comments, or suggestions you might have. Feel free to leave them in below. Again, thank you for watching today's edition of the Our America channel.